There is a disclaimer. Please do not focus on how I am delivering. Please only focus on what I am delivering. It will benefit you a lot. So keep watching the video. Hi guys, in today's video I will be telling you what are the insights and key points of the book Think and Grow Rich are using Notion. Like these points, there are sub points and all of this. So in this chapter, Napoleon Hill tells that if one wants to achieve success, he or she has to build mind power. So one has to have a burning desire, and one should become success conscious and not subconsciously become failure conscious. And one more important thing is determination plus burning desire is required. Okay, so people usually blame people usually blame the cause of their failure on someone else. They blame it on luck and everything, but in this book, Napoleon Hill tells us that you are the master of your fate. So you have to choose what you want to become, and a burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. So this is the first step. And dreams are not born of indifference, laziness, or lack of ambition. They are built consciously. So this was the first chapter, and I am going to move on to the second chapter. Actually, I have written chapter 1 like this because this is how it was written in the book, but you can see like there are 15 parts in total. Okay, so we have moved on to chapter 1, which is desire. Chapter 1 is desire, and desire means a purpose. People will say purpose, desire, it's all the same almost. So a burning desire is essential if one wants to accumulate riches, because this book is about growing rich by thinking. Not just by thinking, but also doing. And wishing will not bring success, but making a good plan and taking on that plan will. Now the third point is steps to riches. Okay, so the steps to riches are, the first step is you have to have a definite amount of money which you want to acquire. I want to acquire $10 million before the age of 25. You just have to have a definite amount of money which will be your target or purpose. And the second step is you have to write down. Okay, so these are the things you have to write down. So the second step is you have to write down that what you intend to give in return for the money. So what I am going to give in return is pleasures, like all of these pesky pleasures like playing video games, watching movies and all. The third step is to write down the date till which you intend to possess the money that you desire. So my amount is $10 million. I want to achieve this amount of money before I turn 25. And okay, so you have to write down that too. And now we come down to the fourth step. So the fourth step is I will be starting a business in which I will give out so much value that I will be given riches. So this is what is written in the book, that you have to bring a lot of value. So okay, so there is a YouTuber I follow. His name is Dan Co. He tells his audience that if you want to acquire riches and you are just trading your time for money, you will not become rich. So what you have to do to become rich is provide a lot of value in a short period of time to become rich. So the fifth step is Napoleon Hill tells us that we have to write down all of these 4 points in a single paragraph. So I have written down. So let me read it out loud for you guys. So I want to acquire $10 million by the age of 25, and for that I am willing to give in return comfort, bad habits, time wasting habits, pleasure and satisfaction. To achieve my aim, I will gain a lot of knowledge and start a business. Even if the business fails, I will continue to persist until I get what I want, that is riches. Very important character in a person who becomes rich or successful is persistence. So you have to be persistent, and we will cover that later down the video. So the sixth step is you have to read the fifth point or this paragraph before and after sleep and feel that you possess the money, and you have to feel that you are giving out value to do so. And you really, okay, so what you have to do is you have to just read this paragraph, but you have to feel what you are saying in this. And if you do it before and after sleep, your subconscious will think that your subconscious will be reprogrammed and to become more successful. Okay, so another point in this chapter desire is uh, the is failure brings with it equivalent amount of success. This point says that failure brings with it equivalent amount of success, and this is self-explanatory. So I'm going to proceed. And this point, I don't know which point this is. Maybe some point. Okay, so this point says that dreams are the seedling of reality. So what Napoleon Hill's okay, so what Napoleon Hill tells in his book is that one like every person who became successful first thought that he will become successful. Like before making a car, Henry Ford thought that he was going to make something like a car. So this is why this point is very important, that dreams are the seedling of reality. So the next point is no one ever is defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality. So this point tells us that no one really is out of the game until he leaves the game. So yeah. So the next point is there is a difference between wishing and actually being ready to receive it. You are never ready for a thing until you believe you can acquire it. So this means that there are a lot of people who work 9 to 5, who works 9 to 5. They are not happy from their job and they wish that they become rich, but they really don't believe that they can become rich. So this is what this point says. So the next point is desire should be backed by faith. So in this this point tells us that so a person should have faith and a desire to become successful while being persistent. So the next point is faith is a state of mind which may be induced by auto-suggestion. So the author what? So the author calls the fifth and sixth point as auto-suggestion. And the author tells us that if you don't believe that you can acquire riches, you do the fifth and sixth point, and by auto-suggestion you can become rich. So let's move on to the second chapter, which is faith. So this chapter tells us that, let's see what it tells us. So the first point is faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmations or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of auto-suggestion. So the author tells us that our subconscious can be reprogrammed by repetitions. So and auto-suggestion is a form of repetition. You have to repeat it until your subconscious start believing it. But even after it starts believing that you can acquire riches, you still have to auto-suggest. So the second point is all thoughts that are emotionalized are mixed with faith to start become reality. Now let's talk about the third point. It is a well-known fact that one comes finally to believe whatever one repeats to oneself, whether the statement be true or false. So this is self-explanatory. So let's move on to the next point. Okay guys, so here we meet again. So thoughts which are mixed with any of the feelings of emotions constitute a magnetic force which attracts other similar or related thoughts. So this is saying that if we think of success and positivity, it will attract related thoughts. If we think about working hard, it will attract thoughts about working hard. If we think about taking rest or wasting time on not so useful things, it will attract those things. So let's move on to the next point, which is steps for auto-suggestion. So the first step is you have to read these paragraphs. So let's start. I will read it out loud for you. So the first thing is, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. So this is the first paragraph. The second is, I realize that the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that. The third paragraph is, I know that thought, the principle. Okay, so the third point is, I know that through the principle of auto-suggestion, Any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self confidence. So, the fourth point is I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction that does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attaining to myself the forces I wish to use and cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me, and because I will believe in them and in myself. So the sixth point is I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self-reliant and successful person. So this is what are the steps of for autosuggestion. So now let's move on to the third chapter. So the third chapter is autosuggestion, and this chapter was faith. Okay, so there were very less points in this chapter. Even though it was a huge chapter, there were just examples which shows how autosuggestion can change our lives. So the first point is be on the alert for these plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. So this means that whenever our subconscious or conscious tells us that we have a plan, and when the plan appears, we have to take action on it immediately. So I am drinking chocolate shake, which is very bad because I am reading a book which tells us to take care of our health, and I'm certainly not doing that. So the first point is be on the alert for these plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. I've covered this point. The second point is failure to do this will be fatal to your success. So this means that whenever you feel like working hard, you should work hard. Whenever you feel like you have to do something which will bring you success, you have to take action on it immediately. If you will let's say procrastinate and say that no, even though I'm feeling like I should work towards my chief aim, I will do this later on. If you do this a few times, your subconscious will believe that you cannot do anything and you always procrastinate. So this can be fatal to your success. So the third point is when visualizing with closed eyes the money you intend to accumulate, see yourself rendering the service or delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for this money. This is an important point. So this is self-explanatory. So I will move on to the fourth chapter, which is specialized knowledge. So this chapter tells us that knowledge is only potential power. The only limitation is that which one sets up in one's own mind. Okay. So this means that knowledge is only potential power. If we want it to become reality, we have to take action. And the second point is the only limitation is that one sets up in one's own mind. So if I'm thinking that me becoming an astronaut and going to the moon is not something that I could achieve, so this is the limitation I have put on myself. So yes, so let's move on to the next point. So the best sources of specialized knowledge are, so in this book the author tells us that specialized knowledge is when a person delves deep into a certain field of work and gains a lot of knowledge in that field and becomes a specialized person in that field. So that is when a person gains a specialized knowledge. So the best sources of that are A, your own experience and education. B, experiencing and education available through the cooperation of others, mastermind alliance. So this we will cover later. So the third point is colleges and universities. So colleges and universities are made to teach us engineering, law, and many other fields. So colleges and universities make us specialized in fields. So the fourth point is Public libraries, through books and periodicals in which may be found all the knowledge organized by civilization. Like Think and Grow Rich, through public libraries we can read a lot of good books and gain specialized knowledge. So the fifth point is special training courses through night schools and home study materials in particular. So this point is saying that we can either hire a tutor or learn through courses like Coursera and an academy and all of those. So the fifth point is imagination. This tells us that riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. So this is self-explanatory, this chapter and this point is, so I will move on to the next point. So the sixth point is, there are two important steps for organized planning. The first step is make a plan which is faultless. So to make a plan which is faultless, we have to take actions upon data and not guesswork. So this is an important point. So the second point is, I have to ally myself with other minds who have accumulated wealth because I will need them to help me become successful. So this is saying that we can acquire a mastermind alliance, which is we will later on discuss what is it. So yeah, let's do it. So mastermind alliance. First, I have to ally myself with a group of many people who will lead to accumulation of wealth. Second is decide what I may offer them in return for offering me their expertise and intelligence. Arrange meeting with them at least twice a week. The third point is maintain perfect harmony with mastermind alliance group. The fourth point is see that those plans are checked and approved by the members of our mastermind alliance. So this is what a mastermind alliance is. So let's move on to the next point, which is a quitter never wins and a winner never quits. So this is all about persistence. So let's move on to the next point, but this point is very important. So the next point is, no one can expect to accumulate a fortune without experiencing temporary defeat. So this book tells us that every defeat brings with it equal amount of success. This book tells us that a failure brings with it the seeds of equal amount of success. Yes. So this point is, people become great leaders. Okay. So the next point is how we can become great leaders. So people become great leaders because they were intelligent followers. So because the author researched a lot of people who were successful, by the research he did, he noticed that every great leader was once an intelligent follower. So the 11th feature of a leader. Okay, so now let's move on to the next point, which is 11 features of a great leader. Okay, so the first point is unwavering courage based upon knowledge of self and of one's occupation. So the most important thing which you can do, which you can start from, is gaining knowledge of yourself, knowing who you are and what are your weaknesses and strengths. I'm sure that you have heard this line a lot of times, but this is a very important topic, but this is a very important point. So the second point is self-control. A person who lacks self-control can never control others. So third point is a keen sense of justice. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command or gain trust of his followers. So this is also self-explanatory, so I will move on. Definiteness of decision. A leader who is wary of his decisions are not sure of themselves, they cannot lead others successfully. This is my biggest problem right now. This and first. These two are my biggest problems right now, and I am working to fix these problems. So now let's move on to the fifth point. The fifth point tells us that definiteness of plans. Successful leaders must plan their work and work their plan. So leader who work on guesswork fail. This is also a very important topic, and when one works on guesswork, he or she loses confidence. So the sixth point is the habit of doing more than paid for. Okay, so this is a very important point for a leader, because this will teach the leader's followers that they have to work more than they are paid for. The seventh point is A pleasing personality. Yes, this is very important because a rude leader will lose respect of his followers. This is a very important factor, as a careless or weak personality leader will not gain respect of his followers and will lead to failure. The eighth point is sympathy and understanding. This point tells us that sympathy and understanding is very important when one is trying to become a great leader, because without this, a person will become heartless and will lose the support of their followers. The ninth point is mastery of detail. A successful leader calls for mastery of the details of the perfect leader. So this is telling us that a leader must have mastered every single detail of becoming a leader and his business. The 10th point is willingness to assume full responsibility. Successful leaders must be willing to assume responsibility for the mistakes and shortcomings of their followers. If they try to shift this responsibility, they will not remain the leader. If one of their followers make a mistake and demonstrates incompetence, leaders must consider that it is they themselves who have failed. The 11th point is cooperation. Successful leaders must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce their followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power and power calls for cooperation. So there is a nice little quote right here, so let me read it. Most effective way of leadership is by consent and sympathy. If this does not work, then one must lead by force. The worst way, because this strategy cannot endure without consent and sympathy. Okay, so this is, if this does not work, then one must lead by force without consent and sympathy. Now let's move on to this point, which will teach us the 10 major causes of failures in leadership. The first point is inability to organize details. Whenever people, whether they are a leader or follower, admit that they are too busy to change their plans or to give attention to any emergency, they admit their inefficiency. Successful leaders must be the master of all details connected with their position. So the next point is successful leaders. Okay, so successful leaders must be the master of all details connected with their position. That means, of course, that they must acquire the habit of delegating details to capable lieutenants. The second point is unwillingness to render humble service. Truly great leaders are willing, when the occasion demands, to perform any sort of labor which they would ask another to perform. The greatest among ye shall be the servant of all. So this is a good quote. Is a truth which all able leaders observe and respect. The third point is expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with that which they know. So this point is telling that this point is telling us that people expect pay for what they know, but not what their actions are. The fourth point is fear of competition from followers. Fifth is lack of imagination. Sixth is selfishness. Seventh is intemperance. Intemperance in any of its various forms destroy the endurance and the vitality of all who indulge in it. The eighth point is disloyalty. The ninth is overemphasis on the authority of leadership. So people who get very proudy or often tend to lose their positions and their company fails. The 10th point is overemphasis on title. True leaders' doors are open for people and they don't overemphasize on their power or title of leader. Any one of those faults is sufficient to induce failure. So the next point is what are the major causes for failure. This is wrong. So the next point is what are the major causes of failure. So this point is going to be long. So the first point is unfavorable hereditary background. So this means being deficit in brain power cannot be helped easily. So the second point is lack of a well-defined purpose in life. Third is lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. So a lot of people around me cannot even aim above mediocrity. They think that they have just come in mediocrity and they were poor like decades ago or maybe a few centuries ago, so they don't want to become poor again, so they choose a safe path of mediocrity and they never become rich. The fourth point is insufficient education. So this does not mean a college degree. Instead, it means lack of real knowledge, which mostly is self-made or self-learned. People get to a good position not by what they know, but with what they do with what they know. So this is about taking action. The fifth point is lack of self-discipline. This is a point I'm working on myself. So the fifth point is discipline comes through self-control. Self-control is controlling every single negative quality of oneself. The sixth point is ill health. So what causes ill health is eating unhealthy food, overindulgence in sex, lack of exercise, and improper breathing. So what is proper breathing? You have to put one hand of yours on your chest and the second on your abdomen. When you breathe, if your chest bulges out, that means you are breathing wrongly, incorrectly. So what you have to do to fix it is you have to focus and you have to feel that your hand on your chest is not moving, and then you have to breathe. Then your abdomen will bulge out, and that is a good way of breathing, and it is also known as deep breathing. So the seventh point is unfavorable childhood influences. So a lot of people these days get trapped into bad influences in their childhood, like drugs and all of those things. The eighth point is and the seventh point and the seventh point also explains this, that unfavorable childhood influences mean like bad friends and bad colleagues. So this also leads to failure. The eighth point is procrastination. The ninth is lack of persistence. 10th is negative personality. A personality which repels people is a negative personality, and this kind of personality will lead to failure. I am very sad to say that I have a negative personality, and I am working on that. Even while making this video, I kind of am working on that. The 11th point is lack of controlled sexual urge. So this is a point. The 12th point is uncontrolled desire for something for nothing, also known as gambling. The third, or you can say this is get rich quick scheme. The 13th point is lack of a well-defined power of decision. People who succeed make decisions quickly and change them slowly. The people who fail are the exact opposite. This is very true, and this is also one of my worst qualities, and I am working on this. Even though I take decisions very quickly, I change them very quickly also. So that is what is holding me back. The 14th point is one or more of the 6 basic fears. We will learn about this later on in this chapter. The 15th point is wrong partner in marriage. 16th is overcaution. People think that they have to wait for a perfect idea which will have absolutely no guesswork, and they don't take risks and are overcautious and fail. The 17th point is wrong partner in business. 18th is superstition and prejudice. 19th is wrong selection of field of career. So a person must choose a field or career in which he or she is good and not bad. The 20th point is lack of concentration of effort. The 21st point is the habit of indiscriminate funding. Mostly teenagers suffer from this habit. The 22nd point is lack of enthusiasm. 23rd is intolerance. 24th is intemperance. This is excessive indulgence. The 25th point is inability to cooperate with others. The 26th point is possession of power that was not acquired through self-effort. This sometimes, or maybe a lot of times, mean that like when a father passes his business on to his son, he gains power without self-effort. So sometimes this leads to failure. The 27th point is intentional dishonesty. The 28th is egotism and vanity. 29th is guessing instead of thinking. 30th is lack of capital. This also leads to failure. Mostly poor people suffer from lack of capital, and it is really hard to come out of poverty. The 7th point is decision making. So it is very important for one to keep mouth shut and ears open. So this means that one should listen more and talk less, because when one talks more than the person he is talking to, then the knowledge he will gain will reduce. The second point is indecision is a habit which begins in youth. So by indecision, the author tells us that there are two kinds of indecision. One is when a person makes a very huge wrong decision, and the second is when a person makes a lot of smaller bad decisions. Both of these will lead to failure. The third point is people fail because they either take one big wrong decision or a lot of small wrong decisions. So the eighth point is persistence. The basics of persistence is the power of will. The basis of persistence is the power of will. The second point is with persistence comes success. There is no substitute for persistence. The eighth factors of persistence. First, the definiteness of purpose. So a person must have a definite purpose if he wants to be persistent. Second is desire. A person must have a burning desire. The third is self-reliance. My ability to believe in myself that I will persist and will succeed. This can be achieved through autosuggestion. Fourth is definiteness of plans. Even though they may be weak and impractical, they encourage persistence. Accurate knowledge. If I know that my plans are sound based upon my experience and knowledge, this will give me persistence. Guesswork destroys persistence. Persistence is also related to confidence. The sixth point is cooperation with others. Seventh is willpower. And the eighth is habit. Fear can be overcome by repetition of courage and force of courage. The 16th point, let's move on to the next point. The 16 symptoms of lack of persistence are failure to define what one exactly wants, procrastination, lack of interest in acquiring specialized knowledge, indecision, habit of relying on alibis instead of creating definite plans for the solution of problems, self-satisfaction. People who have this leave no room for improvement. So I think there are people who are satisfied from themselves and their lives. So why will one improve if he or she is satisfied from his life and him or her? So the seventh point is indifference. Eighth is blaming my own mistakes on others. Ninth is weak desire. 10th is willingness to quit on the first sight of defeat. 11th is lack of organized plans. 12th is, so this is one of my weaknesses too, guys. 12th is habit of ignoring new ideas and not grasping opportunities when they present themselves. So one can achieve this by having an open mind. I'm saying such a basic thing, but the 13th point is wishing instead of willing. The 14th point is habit of compromising with poverty instead of aiming for riches. So this comes under this point. 6th, even though it doesn't come under that point, it's kind of related. So the 15th point is searching for all shortcuts to riches instead of giving what it takes. That is gambling or get rich quick schemes. The 16th, let me drink some chocolate shake. Very good. So the 16th. So the 16th point is fear of criticism or fear of what people will say. This is actually my biggest issue or problem. This holds me back a lot. People fear that if they fail in business, for example, people will criticize them. There is a little quote, let's read it. Most ideas are stillborn and need the breath of life injected into them through definite plans of immediate action. Okay, so the next point will tell us that how can we develop persistence. First, a definite purpose with burning desire. Second, a definite plan expressed in continuous action. Third, a mind closed against all discouraging influences. Fourth, a friendly alliance with one or more purpose which will help one to follow with plan and purpose. So there is also another quote, let's read it. Great power can be accumulated through no other principle than that of the mastermind. It is very true, and I need to form a mastermind alliance. I have no mastermind alliance right now, so that is also something that I have to work upon. The 9th chapter is power of the mastermind. So the author tells us what are the three major sources of knowledge. First is infinite intelligence. This source of knowledge can be contacted with the aid of creative imagination. Second is accumulated experience. Example, public libraries, or schools or colleges have this type of knowledge. Third is experiment and research. This is what scientists use, and this is used when there is no accumulated experience. So let's move on to the next chapter, which is mystery of sex transmutation. So this chapter tells us these 5 points: that to be successful, one has to master the art of transmutation. The second point tells us that sexual overindulgence will lead to temporary or permanent mental dysfunction. So once I was surfing YouTube and I saw a thumbnail which was telling that sexual overindulgence will have the same effect on our mind which heroin has. Heroin is a drug if you don't know. The third point is the willpower to transmute, and this energy only comes through desire to transmute this energy. The fourth point is there is no other road to geniuses rather than through self-effort. Fifth is positive and negative emotion cannot dominate the mind at the same time. One must dominate. So it depends on you if you let a negative thought dominate your mind or a positive one. So this chapter tells us that the subconscious mind is very powerful, and all individuals have become what they are because of their dominating thoughts and desires. It is very true. What a person thinks is what a person becomes. Let's move on to the next chapter, which is the brain. Okay. The 13th is the sixth sense. Without doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings is the habit of leaving their minds open to negative influences of other people. This is very important. If you have a desire and the whole society and your people surrounding you are telling you not to go that way, you have to close your mind and you don't have to let those negative influences affect you. The last chapter is epilogue. This is very, very long. This will so epilogue is the 6 basic fears. First, the fear of poverty. At the heart of most people's worries. This is at the heart of most people's worries. Thinking of poverty will make one poverty conscious. So this is what you must avoid. The second is fear of criticism. I suffer from it a lot. I suffer from this a lot. I suffer from this a lot. I suffer from this a lot. And these two I don't suffer from. So let's see what are the symptoms of fear of poverty. The first is indifference. Second is indecision. Third is doubt. Fourth is worry. Fifth is overcaution. Sixth is procrastination. Okay, so I have noticed a very good thing. That if a person fears something, he thinks about that fear, and that actually makes the person close to that fear actually happening in reality. The symptoms for fear of criticism are first, self-consciousness. I have this a lot. I am very self-conscious. Second is lack of poise. Third is weak personality. I'm sorry guys, but I forgot what poise means. So let me search it up. Okay, so poise means when a person is self-confident and carries himself well. The third point is weak personality. Fourth is inferiority complex. A lot of times inferiority complex is masked by superiority complex. The fifth point is extravagance. Sixth is lack of initiative. Seventh is lack of ambition. The symptoms of fear of ill health are inappropriate autosuggestion, hypochondria, lack of exercise, susceptibility of disease, self-coddling, intemperance. Self-coddling means you tell people that, oh, I'm this sick, I have this disease, and you want them to coddle you. The next point is symptoms of fear of loss of love. First is jealousy. Second is finding fault in others. Third is gambling. After reading the symptoms, then I got to know that I have fear of loss of love. I am jealous. I find faults in others a lot. This point is symptoms of fear of old age. You can read these points: tendency to slow down, habit of speaking apologetically, habit of killing of initiative. The next point is symptoms of fear of death. Thinking about death rather than enjoying life. This will tell us how we can fix these fears. So first, erase fear of death by accepting it as an inescapable event. Second, erase fear of poverty by reaching a decision to get along with the wealth one can accumulate without worry. Third is overcome fear of criticism by reaching a decision to not care about what people will say, do or think. So I will take a major action on this point today. Fourth, overcome fear of old age by knowing old age means experienced age. Fifth, delete fear of ill health by forgetting the symptoms. Sixth, completely eliminate fear of loss of love by reaching a decision to live without love if that is necessary for one to become successful. The last point is the seventh worst thing one can get is susceptibility to negative influences. So one must close off his mind from negative influences, or the negative influences will close his mind. This is my line. Okay, guys. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so the next point is how to protect one against negative influences. First, recognize that I am by nature lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all negative influences that people will put on me. Second, recognize that I am susceptible to all the 6 basic fears. Third, recognize that negative influences work on me through my subconscious mind. Fourth, I have to keep my mind closed against all idiotic and dumb people who are very shitty by nature and want to keep me poor. The fifth point is deliberately seek the company of people whose influences. Okay, guys, so we have completed this. And one more very important thing in this book is most people don't accumulate riches before the age 40, because they get indulged in pleasures, and they put their energy in bad things. So this is what this book is about. Okay, guys, so this last point is left, which is this one: how to protect not this one, sorry. The last point is 57 famously used alibis. So I will be scrolling, and you can read this after pausing the video. I won't be reading all of this, so this will help you a lot too. So bye, guys, and thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, as always. So bye.